and welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer, and we're talking about Big Sky Season 2, Episode 13. If you've not hit the sub button, please hit that sub button. We do this every single week. We talk about Big Sky, and there's more episodes than we thought. So, yeah, there. Um, you know, I don't have a whole lot of bad to say. I have one bad thing to say, but for the most part, I was pleasantly surprised by this episode. Um, I didn't hate it. I don't know. There was a lot of things I liked about it. I had a lot of concerns going into it from last week because they essentially kill off a bunch of characters. We learned that, well, one, Ronald is dead, according to them. They kill off Wolfgang at the opening of this episode, which pissed me off. But they announced that Scarlet and her Phoebe are missing. The Syndicate is looking for them. They were able to, kill Wolfgang. So the Syndicate storyline and the Scarlet storyline is still there. Fine. But everything else in the episode, it did sort of what we speculated. Or it was like, okay, they're gonna have to focus a lot on the Jag Ren stuff, and that's exactly what they did. And with a little bit of Bob thrown in the mix, but I sort of liked the episode. There was one scene that bugged me a little bit, but for the most part, I liked it. As much as I hate on Travis/Stone, and I still don't like him, this was the first week where I said, okay, I think they've committed to what he is. And I was okay with that. But yeah. He did something at the end of the episode where I actually was like, cool. He's on a very specific quest to find somebody, and he'll do it any means necessary. And I'm like, all right, that's the character now. So yeah, that's my initial thoughts. We haven't talked at all about this episode. What were your initial thoughts?
Like you said, I felt like they were initially trying to run away from the Ronald and what's her nuts Scarlet. There we go. Storyline, and then I wasn't sure whether or not they were going to go with it, go against it, run away with it. But then all of a sudden, I felt like, oh, maybe this is it. Maybe they have the storyline set up. Maybe they're going to go with it forward. And then all of a sudden, it was, well, he didn't make it. Well, he's dead. Well, Wolfgang's dead. And we talked about this before. I truly hope that there is a Mozart Legowski, or I don't know, Bach Legowski, where there's a cousin or uncle that shows up, just because I've really enjoyed that family so far, but I have a feeling that they're pushing away from that family. One of the people in the comments talked about how Cassie was pregnant, and that's the reason that perhaps she's been less active over the last couple episodes. So I'm like, okay, I get that. Maybe she's just not there, but I don't know. I'm still on the fence about Stone, Trey, Travis, whatever the fuck his name was. I think Trey was his name from the OC, the character. He played one of the main characters' brothers. His name was Trey. But but I don't know, man. I think they finally have a direction, but I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy the direction. I love Ren and Jag, but if they kind of have written off Ronald and the Legarskis, I don't know how I feel about who the big bad's going to be. I haven't decided yet, because John Milton's still coming. Is that, Legarski's dad? That would be great.
Yeah, I mean the Syndicate stories clearly still going. What direction that goes, I have no idea. You're right. I don't know at this point. They left it in a way where they could literally ignore it for the rest of the season if they wanted to, or pick it back up immediately, or just wait for what I'm guessing they're hoping is a season 3. Um, but as far as you're right. The actress that plays Cassie, I guess, is pregnant or was pregnant during a lot of this shooting. What she wasn't in this episode like at all, barely. Um,
I think she was in it for like 2 seconds.
yeah, yeah, that was it. So that explains. It's just so crazy how all the actors in this show, go do this or go do another show, and how they have to write around them. It's been funny. But yeah, the my last thoughts on Ronald. I still think they could have done better with his ending. It was. I don't know. I would have stretched it a little bit longer if you were going to kill him off, but it is what it is. Um, but let's talk about Bob, who I assumed was going to be around longer because he was doing a lot this episode, but clearly not. So we have the bomb scene, which that was one of the sort of dumb scenes where the guys were playing with the mannequin, and Jenny just so happened to figure it all out. And oh, hold on one sec. Yeah, just go within the Bob thing.
What's that?
Just your thoughts on the bomb thing.
Oh, you said hold on. I didn't know if there was a technical difficulty or something.
There was.
Oh, okay. I was like, what? But yeah, dude, Bob, that the whole opening sequence, it just felt really. I mean, there's been some cheesy bullshit that's happened, but when the whole mannequin blowing up and them playing with it. Now, if that's the route they wanted to go, I would have been okay with that. But the two gentlemen that were there, I don't know the other cops, the SWAT cops and the small ass $30,000 or 30,000, capacity town there. There, who the hell has a full bomb squad when their population is all of 32,000 people? I don't know that they would have a full blown, SWAT team coming in. But anyway, when they were playing with the mannequin and turned his head and were like having him pretend to talk and everything, that's the part that I thought was stupid. Had they just like looked in and saw the mannequin, been like, oh, that's kind of weird, and then had them have a side conversation, and then they kind of pan back and they touch the mannequin and she's like, oh shit, and then jump out of the way. I felt like they played the mannequin too kind of hokey.
Yeah, it was just the way the whole thing played out was
Yeah.
just sort of like what, and it's just like a good thing Jenny was there and figured it out and saved what's his name, Poppernick. Which I want to bring that up. So we have she saves him. Those two guys get blown up. Uh, I'll be damned if there isn't one singular scene that was legitimately like emotional and well done. When he's in the hospital and he gives the thank you and he's tearing up and everything. It was like this really well acted scene that I'm just like, what? Like I actually felt that. Like it was a genuine sort of like, because he kept the way they built it was he kept wanting to say thank you, but he didn't, and then finally in the end he did. But it was that moment of sort of realizing, if I would have been dead if it wasn't for you, and that was the moment where their partnerships, bonding, because there was already a line earlier where she was being told basically, look, you're not Cassie's partner anymore. You have a partner. And so I don't know, it's just one of those weird moments the show does on occasion where it's like, this hokey crazy stuff, and then they'll do like a genuine moment where you're like, wow, that was like actual acting.
Yeah, that to me is one of the weirder sequences where you have these like you said, where it's actually acted decently enough to where it throws you off from every other scene that's around it. So you have the bomb sequence that happens, Cassie, all these people that kind of bounce in and out, and then you have this scene where it's I don't I don't even know how to describe it, where it's well done. And to me, when you either need to embrace the full goofiness of it, which I thought Ronald and Jag and all these characters do a good job of, but to me that goes back to the confusion I have with the other characters. When you have Jenny, who in one scene does a good job, like acting, and then in the next scene is walking around in her half cut ACDC t shirt. And I'm like, I just have a hard time placing the characters. And this is a testament almost even more so to that, where it's well acted, well done. And then 3 seconds later, she's talking to Stone and is her normal in this show, shittily acted, shittily written character. It's very hard to follow. It, the well written acted scene actually pissed me off more because it confused me more.
The worst scene in the episode for me uh, was the Jag proving himself to his father scene. It was you talk about bizarro writing. Like I said, I praised this episode up front because for the most part, I thought it was a decently written episode. That scene was just insane to me because I'm sitting there. First of all, like I just everything was confusing. So they bring in Diedrich, and they're like, oh, we're not cool anymore. But here's your money. Why did they give him his money? Like that blew. Like I was confused by that. They basically like you're not equal to me. You're a piece of shit. We don't need you. But oh, here's all this money that was yours. Why did you give him his money? So that first thing that was confusing. Second, the whole thing with oh, prove yourself, Jake. This is a test for both of you, and the whole test was you just have to punch him and make him take a knee. And I don't know, man. We had a scene in which Jag went to the martial arts studio and had Jinder Mahal kill a guy. It didn't bother him. He wasn't phased. He's sitting there. A man is being murdered for no reason in front of him. But punching a guy is killing him. And I guess they're trying to say, oh, Jag isn't, built for this. Or I don't know what they're trying to say. Because then the scene where he goes to Rin and he's like, you just be glad you weren't there. And I'm like, me and you, we used to, mess around boxing and grappling and stuff. And I think we beat each other up more than what those two did. And that I'm just sitting there like, like what was that?
Yeah, dude.
It was insane to me. Yeah, like well, I don't understand the point. Like if he had been like cut his hand off, or you know what I mean, do something really graphic to him to prove yourself, or but that's not what it was. It was like punch him twice.
Well, and my favorite part was after after Jag got punched or slapped or whatever. I don't even remember specifically what happened to him in that scene when he overacted and his face like flew away from the camera for a moment and then he looked back. Dude, I could not stop fucking laughing because when he kind of flipped his face back and his hair was disheveled, it looked it looked just like Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man
Yes.
3.
Yes.
And I fucking was dying laughing. So that took me completely out of the scene. So it didn't matter what happened after that. I was giggling.
The whole scene was bizarre. Like story wise, I was puzzled by it. Like I said, I would have had a moment where he's like, I don't know, I need stab. I don't stab him. I don't know, do something. Like if you the whole this is a test, and it's just like you just got to punch a guy, and you got to punch a guy, and he's not really allowed to fight back. Like
Yeah,
keep in mind, like I was like, what? Okay, yeah, I that was the only part of the whole episode where I was like, what? Like somebody, whoever wrote that scene, I don't know if they read the rest of the scripts. They were just so. I'm gonna shoot through because it all happened really quick, and I don't the journey of Bob, I'll call it. So Bob hijacks the shipment of drugs, kills the driver. Tanya's left there. Bob then goes to Diedrich and basically is like, "Look here, let's partner up again." He's like, "Cool." Diedrich betrays Bob because he wants to get back in with the Bullers. Okay, fine. Bob is then taken to be tortured and killed in an amazing scene. Everyone involved was great. Rin, Tanya, Dono. That scene was beautiful. The whole melting him and all that. A lot of great humor there. We then get to a scene where Bob, to save his own neck, exposes the fact that Stone is a cop. Stone walks in. Another great Dono scene where he cooked this delicious meal, final meal. Um, and I thought was a cool scene. Stone's like, "Well, if I was a cop, would I do this?" And he just pulls a knife out and stabs Bob right in the throat. Um, I the journey of Bob. What are your thoughts?
well, to me, that gave an underutilized character. I Bob going forward could have been the next kind of Ronald. Um, Not that I think that they're kind of pushing in a completely separate, different direction. So I don't know. I wasn't completely pissed or mad about it, but pissed off and mad about it. I hope you scream and shout it. I don't know that they're a big enough band for us to get flagged,
We'll
or,
find out.
or if I sang it well enough for it to get picked up on the old YouTube's flagging algorithm. But I forgot what we were talking. Bob, I forgot what we were talking about there for a second. I went off on a tangent, singing an awful rendition of a song that I won't mention because I don't want to give them credit for their bullshit. Um, but the Bob, I felt like could have been a good crazy substitute for Ronald, but I think that it felt like by them doing that, it's like they were trying to move away from the hokey, pulpy thing that makes me enjoy the show, which worried me a little bit by the end of the episode, that it felt like they were trying to push away from that. But I'm not sure whether they are or not. So by the end of this episode, I was more confused just because it felt like they were trying to move it towards an episodic show as opposed to an overarching show, which they've showed us it is, if that makes sense. Like they're trying to move it more to a episodic Law and Order kind of show is what it felt like by the end of it, as opposed to the, I don't want to say seasonal arcing show that they had prior to. I guess I don't
Um, the piggybacking off of the Stone thing, we have his handler come in. They've referenced the character before, but we never met her. She comes to talk to Jenny to basically be like, "Yeah, Stone's doing his own thing. He's off the grid." Now, yet again, nitpicking, but there's no scenario. Everybody knew where he was. It was no secret. Everybody knew the hotel he was staying in. He's constantly hanging out with Jenny or at the police station. There's one specific bar that he's always in. There's no way you can convince me that his handler didn't know exactly where he was at all times. Therefore, the fact that he didn't check in doesn't make sense because why didn't she pursue him? Um, it's just, I know it's a nitpick, but it just doesn't hold up as far as how that works. But she was there just to basically be like, yeah, Stone's doing his own thing. He's he doesn't give a shit about the law and whatever. So that's fine. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. It's almost like they were trying to replace Ronald with Stone.
yeah. I mean,
Which is
because my
shittier, which because that actor's not great.
God
His
no,
character is fucking awful. Like I don't even like this character that they've created. But
his I
like
wish
the
I was Luke Perry.
yeah, oh god, that's man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's all I see every time I see him. His mannerisms. I mean, he has a. Yeah.
He
He
grew up
feels like an
watching
actor from
210.
20, 30 years ago.
He's he's an extra on Melrose Place.
Yeah. He would have been.
Yeah,
He definitely has that. It's like he almost plays the role like he's an actor from that era of television.
late
Um,
90s.
yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, shit, he was in the OC, which was early 2000s, so it's not too far off. He just missed his boat by like 5-10 years.
Because I mean, I guess in his mind, okay, I killed Bob. Bob did kill two cops, so that justifies it in his head. They're gonna, they'll get rid of the body, so there will be no evidence that he killed Bob. So it makes sense that he would make that move at that time, calculating, but clearly he still has his own agenda, and that ties into my. I don't. So clear, the Bullers have a secret. Something went down in Canada. They don't want to talk about it. Alicia's keeping a secret. Mr. Buller's keeping a secret, or Veer, I think is his name. Jag and Ren don't know what's going on. Does it tie into the syndicate? Is it something completely different? Not sure. They're keeping it a secret to the point where it better be damn interesting because at this point I don't really give a shit. But
Exactly.
hopefully it's something cool that'll lead to better things. Yet again, I don't understand why Jag's all like, oh, don't ask, and Ren's like, why not? Like,
Yeah, and that's the thing that also frustrates me is that you try to make it to where you fear the dad. So, and I don't remember his name, the daddy.
I think they called him Veer at one time, Mr. Buller or
Yeah.
Buller.
So you have this. Ooh, I was trying to burp and not vomit at the same time. Whew. Um. So you have Daddy Bowler, Daddy Bullbucks. They He's supposed to be this huge cartel leader who's slightly afraid of whatever's going on in Canada by all places. That it's and I'm not shitting on Canada. There's there's a actual good show that shows Montreal. I want to say in the 80s. It's something blood. Shit. Bad. Now, Bad Blood is a Taylor Swift song or something. But there's a
Blood Syndicate. It's a comic book. It's a good one from the 90s. I know the show you're talking about, but I never watched it. I did see the trailers. It's Canada based, basically Sopranos, like mob stuff.
but it was good. But that's what I'm saying is that they show that all countries and cities there's places that are scary. it But when you go to Montana and you you pass it off as them trying to fly under the radar, which to me would be a smart thing to do. But on that same note, you have them trying to fly under the radar and then pass him off as this scary cartel leader. But then the only thing his son has to do is punch a guy in the face. And then like
You're right. He's never done anything that was over the top or ridiculous. Matter of fact, some of the arguments or the times he was got more stern with his voice was somewhat practical and made sense for the situation. You know what I mean? Like, you're right. It's almost like they're trying to paint him as this like crazy guy, but they've not shown us that.
yeah, and it's made it to where it's not believable as that he's this badass cartel boss. It, I don't know. it it just seems very. He's not a good bad guy. I want to say he's it. They're not painting him well enough as a badass to be a.
Yeah, like you take go into season one, Rick Legarsky and Ronald. You know, these were two guys doing really heinous shit and had weird, twisted justifications for why they were doing it. That was really interesting villains.
Yeah,
Um, you had, of course, the horrible ranch storyline, which God, it was just a mess. Um, they were villains. I mean, they were truly bad people. You know, that got resolved. This storyline, the problem the show is I don't know if it's a problem or not, because it's like my favorite characters currently, now that you've taken out all Ronald and old Wolfgang, is probably Ren and Dono, and now Tanya is starting to creep up as a favorite.
yeah,
Like that little dynamic is great. Like I love every scene they're in. It's fun. Every line of dialogue between Dono and Tanya this episode was gold. It was some of the best stuff of the show. Um, like it's just funny. And here we are, sort of like rooting and sympathizing with a murderer. And I even loved their story. The fact, remember, he was trying to kill her, and now they've become sort of like these weird friends. Like I really like. That's my favorite stuff in this show right now.
yeah, exactly. You have goofy ass Dono who seems like a cross between I want to say if Johnny Depp played Spider-Man 3 Spider-Man, like that's what he reminds me of. Like with the way he looks over his shoulder, it looks like if uh, Chris Pratt played Jack Sparrow, like and had eyeliner and stuff. Well, I should say Andy Dwyer, Chris Pratt. So, ooh, the hell are barking at? Nobody's here. Maybe the storm. They're barking at a thundercloud. But but you have Dono, who's this over the top kind of oddball hitman, and then you have Jamie Lynn Segler. I don't remember how to say her last name, but you have Tanya, who does a good job. Now that it's like if you just forget that she was this weird waitress that was scared.
Yeah,
If you just ignore her,
it's
her
interesting
character at the
because
beginning.
her character was clearly directionless initially. I don't think they had a plan for her really. Uh, it didn't feel that way for quite a while, and then finally they were like, well, you know what? Well, let's do something with her. and it's worked out because initially especially when she first went over, I think I complained about it back when that happened. I was like, this is stupid. It didn't really make sense, but as it's played on longer and longer, I'm like, yeah, it works.
Yeah, now that excuse me, now that they have a direction with her, it feels well done. Um, it's almost if if we were able to ignore the onset of her character, I would be okay with the direction her character has gone. It's just hard to kind of forget where she came from and just ignore the fact that she was a waitress that now is the head of. She's kind of a Bagoda from The Godfather, like the lawyer character. You know, you have that she's playing, and that's okay. That's kind of a cool character, but from her to be a waitress to almost a real estate mogul lawyer character, it's kind of weird. And this show hasn't.
It was
Like the
Robert
show.
Duvall.
What's that?
I didn't want to correct you, but it was Robert Duvall. Is that what you're talking? That was in The Godfather.
Yes. Who did?
Abe Vigoda was in there, but he was just a friend of the family.
That's that's the character I'm thinking, where he's the because Robert Duvall was the
He was
lawyer.
a lawyer, and he was also the basically, I forget the name of the position, but he's sort of like what Syl was in Sopranos. He's the one that uh, the boss confides in and sort of helps make decisions, and um,
Consigliere.
it's yeah. That's it.
But
Sort of what Stringer it's tough. It was to Avon,
yeah,
basically initially. Yeah.
well, yeah, before. But well, Larry's not on here. We can spoil the shit out of some Wire, but they, you have her become that kind of character, and
Or
that's.
cheese to prop job.
But her playing that kind of character is okay had you not brought her in the way you did. Um, and that's my issue. If you would have had her be a real estate person, and then
Yeah.
they kind of turned her
Transition. Yeah.
as opposed to a waitress who's had zero direction. Like it's not like she was going to real estate. Like
Well, she was like you're right.
real
If
estate license.
she was someone who was struggling but was trying to get a real estate license, but you know what? Yeah, and saw an opportunity and was able to take that and turn that into something. But that would require long-term
Some forethought.
planning, and that would have required an outline.
God forbid they actually had one.
um, but yeah, the only I didn't even want. I was going to completely not bring it up, but for the hell of it, we've already ran half hour. The kids had their little goodbye. It felt like the show basically like, yeah, you won't see them ever again. like, like they were just like, we're going to boarding school, and then Max and Harp, yeah, and I was like, all right, and then Max and Harper just like, oh, okay, we're together now, and it's like, all right, cool, and bye, and then they just walk off screen. I was like, all right.
Oh God, it felt like the end of Korra, where Asami and Korra just kind of hold hands and walk off.
Holy shit, it's the same scene. You're right.
Yeah, where it's you kind of tease that they're together, and then they hold hands and walk off.
Yeah.
It, yeah, I don't know. It's like they want to introduce characters and then have them be cool and be groundbreaking, and then just literally write them off a half second later.
Yes, they're very good about writing people out. Because I doubt we'll ever see any of them again.
No, I don't. The fact that they're trying to turn Stone into the next big character bums me out.
I did like that scene though.
The fact that his name is Stone.
That annoys me, but the stab, I grinned. Like when he did it, I started smiling. I was like, okay, I like that. Because I didn't see it coming. Well, I did. It was funny. He comes in, and at first his acting is horrible. He's just like, oh, I don't what, and then finally he's just like, no, this is bullshit. Bob's, he's trying to save his own neck. And then I'm like, okay, and I'm thinking in my mind, well, how's he gonna get out of this one? And then he just grabs the knife and stabs him in the throat. I was like, that'll do it. It was funny. But it was because I was already laughing from the Dono line, because he's like, the food's good, and Dono's like, yeah, he's like, I cooked it. And I even think it's funny they cooked him a last meal like that. I don't know. That was funny to me too. But yeah, that's the episode. There are more episodes than we thought. They started popping up on the wiki page. So how many it'll be total? I'm guessing 16. Right now there's, I think, 15. Last I looked there were 15, but I think last season was 16, so potentially there'll be 16. For all I know, it could be 26. I don't know, but point being, whatever is listed doesn't necessarily mean that is all that's left. So we'll see what happens, whether or not this gets another season or not. By the way, sidebar, HBO, look, this Raised by Wolves situation, you got to green light a season 3. I'm telling you. I'm going to bring it up in every single video. I'm going to tag it in every video. You got to do a third season. I'm starting to get irritated, but
yeah, you're going to get Big Sky as season 3.
Well, maybe it'll just be delayed, because we thought one of you texted me what's the City on a Hill? What's the show?
That was Larry found that.
Yeah, because everything I had heard had reported that it was canceled.
Yeah,
Showtime was not interested in pursuing another season, and now all of a sudden they're like, no, they're going into production for a new season.
It comes out in 3 months.
Yeah, so I that was one of those odd things where it must have been it was a lot later that they made the decision to bring it back. So cool. But yeah, that's all I got. You anything else?
No.
All right. As normal, we appreciate everyone listening. Got a lot of stuff coming up in April. HBO. I think we're gonna try the Tokyo Vice, maybe. We're gonna do Barry. We're gonna do Flight Attendant. So look out for all that. Snowfall. If you're not watching Snowfall and you have access to Hulu FX, I'm telling you, it's an amazing show. 10 out of 10 show. We're reviewing it every single week. Absolutely love it. So yeah, look out for all that stuff. Yeah, appreciate everyone listening.
Bye.
Bye.